Welcome to EyE on You. President Xi Jinping has stressed that cultural identity is the deepest form of identity. It is also the root and soul of ethnic unity and harmony. It is important for students to have a correct set of values and a sense of historical responsibility from an early age, which is a task that requires the concerted efforts of all sectors in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong Education Bureau also attached great importance to students' accurate understanding of and respect for historical facts of their own country. China has been developing rapidly in recent years. To develop Hong Kong to be an international center of finance, commerce, technology and shipping, Hong Kong must think about how to better integrate into the overall development of the country.
Today we are glad to have Mervyn Cheung Man Ping, Chairman of the Hong Kong Education Policy Concern Organization. In our show, Cheung has also said that many Hong Kong young people have very little or no concept of their roots and origins, and the demonization of the country by certain educators and the press has further contributed to the current distorted view of the nation among Hong Kong youngsters. In our program, Mr. Cheung will explain to our audience the current state of national education in Hong Kong from various perspectives, and how Hong Kong society is promoting a proper understanding of the country among our younger generation, so as to cultivate a sense of identity, belonging, and pride in the country, as well as an international perspective. Without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Cheung.
Hello, Mervyn.
Hi.
Welcome to our show today.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah. So over time, Hong Kong experienced a cultural shift that has led to the present situation that is being pro-Western. So what are the reasons of this situation, and what can be done to re-establish the national consensus of the Hong Kong people?
Now, this is most unfortunate for the Hong Kong people. I think the root of the trouble rests with the local education system. Because before the handover 25 years ago, our education was fundamentally British-based. So all the things were oriented towards the British, who of course try to keep our minds and souls away from our motherland. So students have all along been without a sense of belonging, the kind of cultural and national identity, as well as the kind of warm love and care for the motherland. So in the minds of the people who are in the middle ages or elderly stage, many of them are still basically West oriented. That is, they might not be sufficiently inclined towards things in China. So basically, I think it's this kind of education, culture, as well as the kind of British policy over the period of administration in Hong Kong that have engendered the present phenomenon.
So what can be done to reverse the situation?
Yeah, we just look at the basic reason for such a situation. So it's fundamentally education. So we start from the younger generation and doing whatever we can in a positive, proactive, and also constructive way to change their ways of looking at things in China, the relationship between Hong Kong and the mainland, as well as what they should do in the future in order to contribute towards Hong Kong and the mainland.
A lot of people have put the blame on liberal studies on this problem, and the English name of liberal studies was officially changed into citizenship and social development in March. Why is there this kind of change in their name, and what kind of impact will it make?
I think the subject liberal studies has been instrumentalized to achieve what the Westerners try to have in Hong Kong. And what they have done is that in the subject of liberal studies, which during the initial stage, a lot of emphasis has been put on the development of critical thinking in the minds of the young students. Now, this is ridiculous, Because critical thinking could only come and be grasped when the students have really a proper and complete knowledge of a certain subject or topic at least. And then they might make an informed judgment, an educated judgment about things in order to be positively and constructively critical. They start with criticism before they really understand the subject and the topic. So to the young students, the 2014 Occupy Central movement, and even worse, the 2019 anti-extradition protests. So I think definitely there is an urgency to drop the subject for a new and more constructive and more comprehensive curriculum.
So after the enactment of the national security law in Hong Kong a couple of years ago, so we know that the Education Bureau has been implement many of the education materials in the new curriculum. So how is the national security issues being introduced to students, and why the cyber security law is so important to students as well?
Now, in these days, when the Education Bureaus tries to implement curriculum on national security, I rest more assured that it can be implemented and pushed forward more safely and effectively. Unlike previously, most of the government leaders, including also those on the mainland, were more or less demonized by some of the press media, like Apple Daily. So at this stage, with a proper basis for doing national security education, it is really a golden opportunity to do it. And of course, some people might criticize the government that they are trying to indoctrinate the students. Of course, that's not the case. Now look around. You try to look around the developed countries in the world. There is not even a single or isolated example of the government not providing national security, national education, and the related learning and curriculum to the school students. So I think it's good that the University of Hong Kong is going to launch a compulsory program on national security law in the coming school year. And that would be done online. But to me, I think that there's still things to be included for improvement. For instance, there should be, the program should be credit-based in order to make students more serious. I think it's natural. If it is credit earning, students will become more serious with the subject. And at the same time, I hope and I do request that the assessment process must be strengthened in order that the anticipated effects can come about for launching the new program of study.
You've made some very good points on education. Regarding education, Hong Kong is doing very well. But of course, we are not doing perfect. In your opinion, what is the biggest shortcoming in Hong Kong's education?
Well, it seems that the biggest defect in our local education content is that there is no sense of belonging, no sense of identity, no sense of respect and care for the home country. This is most important, because eventually whether a country will become strong and prosperous depends principally on how well the students are doing in the study days in relation to what they will aspire to contribute to the country in the future. So I think this is a fundamental basis of designing and implementing our school education. And unfortunately, this has not been done well in the past. And of course, I think the Education Bureau and other related departments under the monitoring of the Legislative Council, we have a long way to go in this direction.
Yeah. From many of the news reports, it says that many of the professionals and students have chosen to leave Hong Kong to study or to live in other countries. So what do you think, how would it affect our school system?
Now, I'm confident and also optimistic about the local education system and functioning as well as the output in the future. Of course, the kind of impact at the moment, the kind of perceived impact at the moment is more emotional than real. Now, on the one hand, after the handover, in fact, our education system is becoming less attached to the British elements. We are having our own system, we're having our own culture, which are oriented towards the Hong Kong itself as a place with a lot of unique characteristics and edges. And at the same time, we are also having closer and more intimate relationship and the kind of related learning regarding our motherland. So if this direction continues, I think that the kind of the temporary mobility of students and teachers won't affect the main structure. And now what we should do at this moment is that taking opportunity of the temporarily declining enrollment, we can improve environment in the schools for teaching and learning, and give students the opportunity of learning in a less crowded classroom, and at the same time under the guidance and supervision of teachers who work on an increased teacher-student ratio. So I think this is a very good opportunity for improving school education, both in content and also in teaching methods. So in the future, for the junior teachers, schools and the government might give them more chances of exposure to different, say, teaching methodologies, and at the same time, more staff development opportunities, so that they can become more mature, both in their subject knowledge and also in their teaching methods, more quickly.
Mentioning improving the education in Hong Kong, it reminds me of a previous incident that there are some inappropriate content in the teaching materials published by the People's Education Press, and this aroused many concerns within the families and the parents. So are there some similar incidents in Hong Kong happened in the past, and how can we prevent it from happening in the future?
Yes, these things have happened, and from time to time unveiled by conscious and also responsible press media. And at the same time, you probably remember that there's an organization of language advisors who try to publish guides for learning materials or supporting materials which are directed towards the children to become hostile or to China, and at the same time make themselves totally alien to Chinese. Now these are things that have happened before. Now it only remains for the government to step up its monitoring by requiring schools themselves, the school leadership, to do more supervision and spot check on things that teachers teach, and not only teaching, but also on, say, even for exercises or supplementary things that are given to students. Because in these areas, troubles can easily happen. We just care for textbooks, but textbooks may not be the only evils. If there are people with ulterior motives to stir up troubles. So after all, we need to be positively vigilant of the negative things that might happen in this classroom teaching, the materials they use, and also the kind of impact that will be on the students.
So the DSE result has been released recently, and many of the top students has been interviewed by the press, and they also indicated that they wish to pursue the education into the medicine-related major. So why did still we are looking at for all the top students, they are still going into medicine, law, legal field, and all maybe engineers. So how about others, like for IT-related discipline, and why the top students not elect to choose those as their major?
It seems that this is a phenomenon. Since we stepped into the millennium, they want to serve in a bigger capacity, the community interests, especially those from the grassroots sectors. And of course, being lawyers and doctors, they are really in a strong position to do so. But I think there might be other reasons. For instance, doctors, lawyers, engineers, they hold very high status positions, and mostly with also quite attractive pay package from their profession. And so that might be some kind of appeal in addition to the students' interests. But I do hope that things will become more open and also more liberal in nature. Showing students that they should not be confined to the choice of only a few disciplines when they become super attainers in public examinations. So a lot depends on their own interests and the path they want to pursue for their future career, and also their aspirations to serve the community.
Mm-hmm. We see that there's another phenomenon in Hong Kong, which is that the number of mainland students applying to study in Hong Kong have increased significantly, especially for the Baptist University and for the Lingnan University. They have increased by 50% and 60% respectively, which is the mainland students applying to these universities. Are Hong Kong, or are we ready for this rebound?
In fact, we're always ready for this rebound. And it's only that during the very extraordinary year in 2019, when the street violence occurred, and with an oil spilled into the university compounds, that has pulled back the students from the mainland, from our campuses. Now that's most unfortunate, and I also made a lot of criticism on the situation in those days. And I think with more mainland students coming to study in Hong Kong, from my observation in the university for over 30 years, these are very hardworking, very creative students. And especially, they have a bent for research from an early stage in their school life. Now, this is something that the local students here should learn. So that's why in competing for postgraduate places of studies, mainland students are having quite a good edge, not because of like some of the pandemocrats have framed them, that they have some kind of special relationships with a professor, etc., etc. No, by open and fair competition, they can win, because for more advanced studies, their original and innovative thinking, and also their research spirit, and their hard work to go into such endeavors, all are very balanced and important factors. But then at the same time, I think universities' leaderships themselves should also make it very clear that Hong Kong aspires to develop its universities into an international stature. So old, willing, conscientious, and devoted and high ability students are welcome from the mainland, from other parts of Asia, and from the West as well. So I think this is something that we must understand, accept, and be adapted to if we want our universities to be moving up so very smoothly and successfully into higher ranks of achievements.
So over these years, Hong Kong has been actively integrated into the Greater Bay Area, and this is the policy we've been asking the young people of Hong Kong to work in Greater Bay Area, to work, to study, and to live there. So do you think it is a way to let them to understand our national identity and to increase our sense of belongings of our country?
Yeah, I think this is a very good way, and I think the local students, the local young people are very fortunate. China, our mother country, is developing fast, and its international status is moving up very quickly. So that offers a lot of very highly developing opportunities for our younger generation. So if I were in their age, I would try that out myself in the Greater Bay Area. Basically low loss, but all gains. Of course, we cannot just lie idle. We need to work very hard in order to catch up with the progress of the time.
Thank you very much for your time. We hope that we can have you in our show again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.